Hello, soul travelers. Welcome back to my channel where I share my experiences and knowledge I have obtained to help you on your spiritual journey while I continue on my own. And it's been a little while since I've talked to y'all. So tonight, I'm going to talk to y'all about a huge issue that a lot of people have. We're going to be talking about healing insecurity and how we create from insecurity. Okay. Also, in the link below, you can find my page where you can contact me for a tarot reading if you need that. I have many. I read on all subjects of any kind. Alright, so let's jump into the video. Today, we're going to talk about, like I said, insecurity and how people struggle with it. It's at the core of one of the major blockages that we share across the board. Lots of people struggle with this, and it keeps us from manifesting and from becoming our higher selves and creating the lives we want. Okay, until we can heal this deep wound that we have, we'll continue creating from this place, and we won't even know it. It's one of those very deep subconscious things that we don't even notice, like running in the background. Even when we think that we're conquering insecurity, like on the surface level, a lot of us don't even know until it's triggered, or we'll be just creating out of insecurity and not even realizing what's going on. Okay. And when we, let's say, for example, in relationships, when we create from insecurity, it's not always like acting outwardly jealous and paranoid and accusing, things like that. And this is not just relationships, this could be friendships too. Okay, like a lot of times we text somebody, they don't text us right back for a while. We text them again and text them again until they answer. Okay, this is from a place of insecurity. Okay, because we are like, if there's a deep-rooted fear that because they're not responding immediately, we feel unsafe. Okay, so insecurity is rooted in feeling unsafe, and so we feel the need to keep texting until we get a response, because then we feel better. Once they text us back, then we feel better, right? Okay, and that is relying on an external source for us to feel secure. Okay, another way we do this, we might shut down. We get mad at somebody, or we feel like we're losing them, or we feel like they're doing something to hurt us, or whatever. We might shut down. And that is to protect ourselves. But again, that can be toxic behavior, because then we push the people away that we want to keep close, right? And then we have some people do a thing where, I'm trying to read what I wrote, guys. Oh, yes, this is a big one. Sorry. When we put up with stuff that we don't like from people just to keep them close to us. And this is friends, family members, love relationships. Okay. But we think that we're like just trying to keep them happy, right? But what we're doing is we're afraid to lose them, or we're afraid that we're going to make them mad, afraid that they're not going to like us, afraid that they're going to stop talking to us. But what we're actually doing is we're teaching them that it's okay to do the stuff we don't like, because we're not speaking up, and we're doing it because we're afraid to push them away. But what we're actually doing is teaching them how to treat us bad. Okay, and then in the end, what happens is they can treat us worse and worse and worse, and then they might abandon you anyway. So does that make sense? Okay, because you're not teaching them to respect you, because you don't respect yourself, because you're afraid to lose them. Okay, so it's all rooted like in insecurity. Hope you're following me here. So let's talk about some more ways like we create from a place of insecurity that we might not realize we're doing. All right. So last week I saw a post in one of my spiritual communities. All right. And this girl's post was like, why do I always attract abusers? Well, almost every person who answered this post said something similar. That the poster had nothing to do with it, and that the men she ended up with were just messed up people. Now, y'all know what I said, okay? Whatever vibration that you offer is what you attract. I was accused of victim shaming, and somebody even compared my statement to like a rape victim or some shit. Now, y'all know that rape is against the will. Okay, completely, and it has nothing to do with what I said. That's one of the very rare few things that happens to somebody without them creating their reality. And so that's why it's so horrendous, because it's actually violating your actual will. Okay, and these women were just not ready to accept their own roles in their lives. Okay, because listen, abusive people, a lot of times people will say abusive people are narcissists or whatever, which a lot of abusers do tend to be narcissists, and a lot of people demonize these people. But understand, this disorder is rooted in a very deep insecurity of needing like validation, needing to feel loved, all the same things that like a codependent person has, that are struggling with. Okay, it's just that not everybody turns out the same way. Not everybody has the same effect from these wounds. But anyways, the narcissists or whatever, for lack of a better word, they tend to become whoever someone needs them to be in order to receive this validation. Okay, understand, they're not doing this to purposely. It might come off that way, but they might not necessarily be doing this to purposely deceive you. They're doing this so that they can be liked by you. Okay, and so take a woman or a man who also has a deep insecurity, and they crave like this charming, this great attention that, narcissistic abusers tend to give. They give all this like attention in the beginning and all this stuff, and they say things that make you feel good, all of that, while they're trying to get you to like them. And the person that is charmed by this is sucking it up because they too are insecure and they need this outer validation that's coming from this person. So both parties form a codependent relationship, and it's all rooted in insecurity. All right, so that's why people in abusive relationships says, yes, we can feel some empathy and things like that, but we cannot completely blame the person who is said abuser. Okay, because the victim is also an enabler because of their own insecurities. Okay, now I myself have cultivated all my love relationships based on it, even my relationships with my family, things like that. I have a thing with my sister for a long time. It's like I would be afraid to speak up to her when I saw something wrong. And this is my younger sister, y'all. And I'm a person that calls people out on their bullshit. So I had this thing because I didn't want to lose my sister. Okay. From insecurity stems fear and control. And it's an attempt to create security from the outside when we attempt to control others and our circumstances from the outside. Okay, like when we try to, even down to cleaning your house. Okay, my father, he's very anal about keeping every little single thing in place. Okay, this stems from an insecurity because my father has an insecurity inside. He attempts to control everything that he can on the outside in an attempt to make himself feel better. Does that make sense? Okay. And this stuff does not only apply to narcissists or codependents or people with like diagnosed mental illness, but this thing lives in people in general. And any type of attempt to control leads back to fear, which leads back to insecurity. Then you have people with commitment issues, people who say that, they just don't want a relationship all the time, or people that are closed off and never want to open to anybody. These are also based on insecurity. A lot of times it can come off and seem like these people are strong and all of that. But understand that this is a defense mechanism to protect themselves. They are afraid to be vulnerable. Okay? Now let's look at this from another perspective, because control is not always like in the form of an abuser or a relationship and things like that. All right, we spend money. When we spend money and we constantly keep an eye on our bank account, like you have people that go out and spend a lot of money and then they feel guilty and they feel scared and they start checking that account. Okay, that's a place of insecurity, but insecurity manifests in many different ways, and often it will manifest in several areas of your life, not just one. Or people that hold too tight to their money and just never, they have the money, but they never want to spend it. Okay. That's also from a place of insecurity. They don't have a healthy relationship with money. They feel the money or having the money makes them feel safe. All right, like we were talking about earlier with relationships, a lot of times us women, we feel insecure. We have the tendency to watch our men, watch everything they do, and, we perceive everything that you're doing as them cheating or them being up to something, right? And a lot of times they might go out and cheat. Now, I'm not saying that you caused them to cheat, okay? Because they were probably already insecure. This happens with the other way around too. Women cheat. People often cheat when they feel insecure because they're getting an outer validation from the person that they're messing around with. It's making them feel wanted or whatever. But when both of you are on this frequency, you have no choice but to like manifest, and this is just like a symptom of the illness, if that makes any sense. Okay. Let me further explain why I'm in the mind of insecure people attract insecure people. Here's another example for you. Y'all know I love examples because I feel like it helps y'all like really get what I'm saying. let's say that a man does not like for his woman to dress a certain way, okay? Because he's afraid that other men's going to be looking at her. Y'all all know somebody like this, okay? We've all been in a relationship with someone like this. And your first thought is to blame the man, like he's stripping, he's trying to control her or whatever. Now, how about when the woman changes her clothes to make him happy? Because 9 times out of 10, if a woman is with a man like that, she is going to be catering to that request. Yes? Why did she do it? Because she's afraid to lose him, just like he's afraid to lose her to the other men out there looking at her. Okay? Well, you know, two different vibrations, 2 different frequencies cannot coexist. If they're in the same space, they will naturally divide. One person will be, you'll be like living 2 separate lives, in 2 separate worlds. Okay, I've experienced this. It is not like scientifically possible. Okay, and then you have to understand how this works. Once you understand how this works, then you can begin to examine your own life to see if you're creating out of insecurity. And a lot of times we have to like look at our lives and stop blaming outside forces and look at ourselves to see how we are contributing to our circumstances. That's with everything else. Because the way we heal this is to first admit to ourselves that we're insecure. Kind of like when, you know, somebody has a drug problem or alcohol problem. The first step to healing the problem is to admit you have one. Okay, people don't like to admit they're insecure to themselves. They don't even like to say it to them damn selves. Seriously. And many of us deny it in many ways. Like, for example, there's been many times when other women felt jealous of me, right? For my looks or my body or whatever. Okay, and I would actually take pleasure in feeling that, in the fact that I was intimidating to them or that they felt intimidated by me. And I would be happy about that, like, yeah, you know, or whatever. And that is so common for us women to feel good about ourselves when we have haters. Okay, this is why so many people are like, yeah, I got haters or whatever, right? They're proud that they have haters. Okay, this is actually rooted in insecurity. Okay, it's the same thing if somebody's telling you, oh, you're so beautiful, this and that. You're getting hate for feeling beautiful, but it's still you getting attention. Okay, like drawing attention in that way. And it's rooted in insecurity. If you feel good about making somebody else feel bad, that's rooted in insecurity. Okay. Because if we felt secure, we wouldn't not feel good about it. We would actually feel some pity for them or feel indifferent to it. Well, most likely we would feel sympathy, like, dang, I don't even know why, you know, they're acting like that. I don't have a problem with them, you know, or whatever, instead of being like taking pleasure in it or feeding off of it or whatever. And a lot of us will try to defeat our insecurities like from the outside in. Money, clothes, makeup, spending money, addictions are rooted in insecurity. Like anything that you get from your outer environment, including another person that fills a hole or makes you feel happy because you have it or whatever, that is rooted in an insecurity. So y'all see how common this is? Like this is something that plagues almost in pretty much the entire human race, except for the few people that manage to identify it and overcome it. So yeah, we gotta admit to ourselves we're insecure. And then we can look at our lives, see how we create from insecurity. And then we can understand why we're insecure. We can look back at our childhoods, you know. For example, I moved around a lot as a kid. And my parents weren't together. This type of insecurity causes like abandonment issues. And often results in people like lowering their standards and their boundaries to keep someone around. Okay? Now don't mistake this for a healthy compromise in a healthy relationship. Okay? Because there's healthy compromise. Okay? But we're talking about when you actually compromise yourself, your moral values, or things that your beliefs, things like that, when you compromise the core of yourself to make somebody else happy. All right. Another example is being afraid to leave a job to pursue a business or a new career, even though you really want it. We tell ourselves we can't afford to give up the steady income. However, that job could end like any day by a health issue, getting fired, anything. So really, the job also offers us, again, a false sense of security, an external sense of security. And anything we depend on outside ourselves for security is a false sense of security. So we limit ourselves in that way. Do you see how that is also creating from insecurity? And when we're truly secure on the inside, all the things and the people in our lives will automatically reflect that. Okay. There's many typeses and many types, sorry, typeses, many types and causes for insecurity. Trust being one of the major factors. You know, as if a child, as a child, you could not trust your parents to take care of you, or trust your environment, and you couldn't be trusted to get love from your parents, or not receive your basic needs from your environment, things like that. This creates mistrust in the self, and it creates a mistrust to be able to take care of oneself, or to trust that things will work out in your favor. Because as kids, we come in and we automatically expect for our needs to be met. We don't have a concept that they want. We don't have an idea they want. And so then when they're not, you see how this causes this damage. Okay, and I could go on about all day about the ways insecurity shows up and affects our lives. But what I want to focus on is healing it. Okay, so as I said before, first acknowledge and admit you're insecure. Just like with drug addiction, food addiction, as I said before, the first step is to admitting you have a problem. All right. Okay, so yeah, once you identify like the insecurities, you can trace it back and find out why and where they started. And most likely it's in childhood. And I say trace back because we often think we're insecure because our ex cheated on us, or because we got teased in high school or whatever. But we don't realize that these experiences only compounded what already existed in us. Okay, you're already there. And we often blame others for why we feel insecure, or depend on others to act a certain way to make us feel more secure. And that is a sure sign of insecurity. What we can do once we identify them and the source of them, we can begin then healing them. One of the biggest ways and the most effective ways is affirmations. And that probably sounds cliche, and I felt like it was useless until I started actually doing it, okay? There's some examples of I am safe, I am loved, those types of things, whichever ones, speak to you. And sometimes I like to say you are safe or you are loved when I'm saying this. And I like to say you because it appeals to the inner child, kind of like the trick in the brain that you're receiving this reassurance from a loving parent. Okay, and only since it's coming from you, it's actually working from the inside. So yes, affirmations, write them down every day. Write them on your mirror, like with chalk markers. Like, write them down, but you can't just write them once. Like, you have to either write them a lot, or then you have to like repeat it to yourself in your head throughout the day. Maybe you can make a recording with your voice on it and listen to it in your ears at night. But it has to be repetitious. This is how things get programmed, by repetition. Okay. And you can create your own affirmations, as I said, depending on what insecurities you're dealing with, or which ones speak to you, what wounds you have. And you can begin also analyzing your behaviors and recognizing when you are thinking, acting, speaking from a place of insecurity. You'll start to be able to recognize this. And it'll take some practice. And at first you might not catch it until after the fact. But that's okay, because the more you recognize it, even if after the fact, the better you'll get at recognizing it beforehand, okay? And then you can counter it. Now, don't get me wrong. When people or situations are off, don't fool yourself into thinking, oh, I'm just being insecure, okay? Pay attention to how you feel. If someone does something and it triggers fear or anxiety, it most likely it is triggering insecurity. If you actually get fear from it, a feeling of fear inside from it, it doesn't mean your intuition is wrong, but it does mean you need to heal that, because when you're secure, others' actions will not trigger actual fear. You will just do what needs to be done. You'll be able to recognize their behavior for what it is and act accordingly, but not feel afraid, if that makes sense. You'll also start to have a more clear perception of the world around you, because you won't be seeing everything in a haze of your fear and doubt. Insecurity really does a number on perception, and perception is reality, as we all know. So I'm sorry for the long video, but I really needed to get this out for you guys, okay? Because this is something I've dealt with personally all my life, and now I'm learning how to overcome it, and I really just had to share it and help you. And I actually decided to record this video tonight because I did a tarot reading for a girl who is suffering with some very similar issues, and so I said, it's time to go ahead and get this video out. So thank you guys for watching. Hit me up for a tarot reading, or just hit me up if you need to talk, have any questions, anything. All right, soul travelers, that's all I have for you tonight. Bye. See you at the next stop.